Hello YouTube and welcome to my channel, The Sailor Sister. We are going to today, and we're going to talk about the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, who they are, what they do, and as well as I'm going to do a tutorial on my makeup. So you get to see me start off from not this and turning into this. So you'll be able to see all my process from getting ready to the end, to the stage. So here we go. Let's get started. That I usually do. And so we're going to start off with my eyebrows. So here I am. I'm starting off with my eyebrows because I want to make sure they're gone. I do not want them. I will be painting on some different eyebrows later on. So I will make sure that these are gone. I don't want them in my look. So I'm going to start with some Elmer's glue. I usually go for the bigger pack. The bigger one, and I also use the purple one because you can see when it's drying with the purple. All right, so smear that onto your eyebrows as best as possible, and then you're going to take this brush and you're just going to brush your eyebrows up as much as possible. You're going to try to separate those eyelashes. You want your eyelashes to separate as much as possible while you're doing this. You can go off to the side a little bit, but one thing you want to make sure you don't do is get your eyebrows hairs to start lapping over top of each other, because if you do, you're gonna be able to see it. So really make sure those are separated out, and a really good brush like this really works well for that. All right, so then I'm going to take this side of the brush afterwards and I'm going to flatten that down. All right, you can see that. So it's now flat, as flat as possible. And I'm going to take one of my makeup wipes. And I'm just going to wipe off any excess because I don't need a whole bunch. I just need it to cover just the eyebrows. Just the eyebrows. All right, so I'm going to let that sit for just a minute, and then I'm going to get my handy dandy powder. You get a whole bunch of powder in here. For today, I am using, for most of my face, I'll be using Marin Clown White Light. I really like this. It goes on really smooth. And for my powder, I think I use the Marin White Super White powder as well. So I'm going to use that on my face. So the first thing I'm going to do is cover up these eyebrows. And I'm going to work this white into the eyebrows. Really work it in there, press in, move it around a little bit, because if you don't, you're going to have a little bits of wet glue still. And so you want to check it, see if there's any spots where there might be wet glue. Sometimes you can feel it. Sometimes if you move it around, you can see where it separates. So when you do with that, you'll be able to tell, oh, there's a little bit of wet spot. All right, and then I'm going to take my big brush. We're just going to get rid of excess powder. Excess powder, like so. All right, so now we go to the fun part. It's time to add the white. So I'm just going to take the white powder, just as it is, sponge, and just a little, like I said, this one you can just work it around a little bit. It will come off on there. Even if it's a little cold, this version really works really well for me. And just start around and just start applying. And I'm just going to apply that everywhere. All over my face. So basically what I'm doing is I'm making a foundation. Instead of using a typical foundation color, I'm going to use this white instead. That's what's going to give us this white look for the sisters. This is very common for the sisters. One of the things that you will see us do is we kind of look like clown nuns. So look, I'm just going to apply this generously everywhere. Underneath the nose too. Get all the way around, get everywhere. Get the nose, around the nose, around the eyes, covering up the eyebrows that you painted before, or that you glued down before. Notice you can already see they are disappearing. I can barely see them at this point right now. I'm really happy with that glue down job. It was really good. All right, and so the final step for this part, just kind of go around making sure that the makeup is as flat as possible. You don't want to have, like, sometimes you'll get these lines in there. Make sure you don't have any lines. Try not to have any as best you can, and really get that makeup all around everywhere that you want it to go. And I think I'm done with that part for now. So this part is going to be the fun part. Back to the powder. Just do the entire face. Set the entire thing. And I know when you're looking at the screen, it looks like it's snowing everywhere. No, it's just this powder literally going everywhere. All right, I think I've got that everywhere I want it. So I'm gonna wipe off all the extra. So fun fact about the sisters is the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence have been around since 1979. Are one of the oldest LGBT activist organizations, and not the oldest, one of the oldest. And so what brought that about is during the late 70s, when the onset of the AIDS crisis, the sisters came out. There was a group of 4 sisters that decided they wanted to do something. And so they decided they were going to go and get nun habits from to wear. Mostly because of the anonymity, they decided to do that. And so that made it to where the sisters could go out and not be afraid of being noticed and identified easily. So one of the things they wanted to do, make sure for that, is to do the whole white face. That made it to where people could just come in, not know who they were, and they could just go around and do what their mission was. So spreading joy and just removing guilt. So as we know, one of the things we like to say is that, you know, if a sister is in a location, you're not going to be the weird person there. They're going to be the weird one. So it's always important to know where the sisters are, and if they're in your location, reach out and see if they need anything. We do love to do charities a lot. Charity organizations, we help out all the time. So it's one of the big things we like to do is helping out, raising money, raising funds for charity events, going out, getting in face, just going around and helping out other people who may not know that they need help. Offering that shoulder for them or ear for them to just to talk to somebody or whatnot. Just stuff like that. So it really hits home for me. And so I really enjoy doing that. So I'm going to go start working on my face now, and I'm going to start off working with my Morphe palette. I really enjoy this palette. It has a whole lot of different colors to it, and these are very bright colors, very pigmented. So so when you put them on, you don't have to put a whole lot on at the same time. It will cover it will do what you need it to do. So I'm going to start with one of my smaller brushes. It's more finer, like it's we got this brush. No, let's do that. And then it's kind of thinner, wider and thinner at the same time. And I'm going to do a blue face today. So I'm going to start with my blues. I like the blues. I work with those colors a lot more. So I'm going to first cut out my crease. So I'm going to start with the crease first. And just kind of identifying where that's going to go. So I'm going to start writing here about the bridge of my nose and just kind of build my ridge line how I see fit, how I want it. So notice I'm not doing this too heavy. I'm doing it very light because I'm going to add some more stuff to this eventually. I'm trying to match them up as best as I can. And then once I get that, I want to darken that up a little bit. Once I get that line, darken that up some. All right, and then I'm going to move down to my next shade down. So I'm going to do actually 3 colors of blue here. So I'm going to start with the dark blue. So this one I started with was this blue here. And I'm going to go down to this blue and then finally this blue. Actually, no, I'm going to just go a little bit different. I'm going to go with this blue and I'm actually going to blend it out to this one of these greens after that. So we're going to start off with the blue first. Get my towel. I use one of these microfiber type cloths. This is like one of those cloths you clean your car with, or like, you know, get the final covering on the car with, so that it's not like you don't get spots and everything on it. All right, so I'm using that blue, and I'm going to start on top of that blue, and I'm going to pull up. I'm going to pull that color up a little bit. All right, and one thing you want to do when you're doing this is just light, even strokes. Light, even strokes. You don't have to press into your face to do this. All you have to do is just press in just lightly and then just pull the color up. Just pull that color up. If you press in, you're more likely to cause a mistake. So if you just pull the color up, it's going to blend those colors together. It's going to start with the darker color and then blend that up into the darker color because you want a good color blend. You want this kind of go through and start with one color, blend to the next very easily, very lightly. And one of the things that I am doing as I do this is I'm already thinking ahead with my eyebrows. Because when I do my face, I want to make sure that I'm kind of sculpting out what my eyebrows I want them to look like later on. So here you can kind of see you can already start to see that there's some eyebrows starting to form with this face. So I'm just kind of continue everything up. Okay, so I got those 2 colors. Now I'm going to go back and we're going to add just a touch of green, just a little bit, not a lot. I don't want it to be too overpowering. And I'm going to go down with this, this one here. I don't want to be too much. I don't want it to be like the green. I just want it to be like a light seafoam color. So I'm going to start that about midway. And again, same thing. You're going to start inside the other color and pull up. Start inside the other color and pull up. That's going to blend those colors. And again, this is light touch. You don't have to force the colors in. They will blend. You just got to make it go. So it's just starting here, working our way up. Blend that up and out. Blend it up and out. Okay, and I do my creases a little high because I have a hood over my lids. So when I open my eye all the way, you're losing about half the eye. So I'm going to be doing this, you'll see when I add the black on top of my eye. You're going to see the difference, what happens when I add that on top. I'm going to add it a little bit, and I'm going to do a cat eye, and it's going to kind of come up and out and over. So there's those three colors. So we're good with that. So next I'm going to move into my contouring. So I want to do everything with the powder first, because I'm going to come in later and do stuff with the Marin Paradise paints, which is a water activated paint. I like those paints because they are the water activated. They kind of go on very smooth and very crisp and clean. So I'm going to not worry about that just yet. I'm going to do my eyes with that black, and I'm also going to do my eyebrows with that black. So you can kind of see what I do with that. So we're going to start off here, and I'm going to do the same thing with my colors. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with my middle color that I did. So I make sure I have a good solid brush for this. Actually, I want this one. So I chose this brush. You can kind of see what it looks like here. It's got a slight angle to it. Make sure I get the brown pigment off of it because I don't need that. So I'm going to start with my medium color. So that medium blue is what I'm going to start with. And I got a card, and this is good because I make sure it gives you a good crisp line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from here, the corner. I'm going to put the card from the corner of my lip up to the, it depends on your face. I have a beard line, so I have to work with the beard line. So I have to go a little bit above my natural contour line. Typically though, I would go from beard line to this little weird little island thing in the middle of your ear. I don't know what it's called, but I would go from there typically to there. But as you can see, that kind of lines up with my beard line, and I don't want that. I want it to be just my contour to be just above that line. So I'm gonna go from here to the top of my ear, so right here, to the corner of my lip. And so what I'm going to start off is I'm going to start off up the top, and you're just going to lightly brush over top of your face. And I'm going to go all the way down to my beard line, all the way across. So just a little bit, okay? And when I pull it off, you get just a little bit of contour. It's not going to be a lot. It's not going to be over too much. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that on the other side next. So I always work in doing the same thing at the same time. So I'm going to start same place, here to there. Start at the top corner. This is always harder for me to do on this side. And I'm going to add a little bit more just because I want just a tiny bit more of color. All right, so now I got both sides done. So now what I want to do is I want to use this other brush I got, more flatter brush, fuller brush. And I'm going to take that light color, that light green, and I'll start just on my cheek. Just pull that in just a little bit. Did it on both sides. Just a little bit. You see how those two colors kind of blended together just a little bit? It's great. It works out perfectly for what I want. And then where is my other brush? There it is. Found it. And then the last one I'm going to use is this brush. This brush is really good if you're working with a contour line or a cardstock to give a good sharp line. So I'm going to go with that darker color, that third color now. We're going to go back over this line one more time. So you'll line that back up, and I'm going to start at the top here and just work my way down. And then just lightly pull that up just lightly into the rest of the three colors. So then you got a good color blend going all the way up. So I'm going to do that on this other side as well. You can see I've got those three colors all the way up. They blend all the way to the top. Usually you want to start with the middle color, like your eyes. I usually start with the darker color, go to the middle, go to the lightest. For this, I like to go from the middle to the lighter so I can get this sharper color on the bottom. I don't want it to be as blended as the other one. If that's not what you want, you can always just go back over it with that medium color one more time. It'll blend those colors just a little bit more for you. And get that how you want it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add contouring to the rest of the face. So I'm going to go back to that middle color, whichever your middle color is. And I'm just gonna start around up in the top corner here, just kind of pull that around. So what I want to do with this is to create shape my face. So basically what you are doing is creating the shadows. When you're working with makeup, actual like beauty makeup and stuff like that, you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna create these shadows. So I'm just making my shadows out of a color instead of a different shade of brown or whatever you're using to do your highlights and doing your contouring color. So you can see I'm just kind of adding in this little color around. So I don't want the top to be too far back. I don't want it to be too far forward. And what I am going to do is I'm going to add the darker color as well. So I'm going to add a little bit of the darker color just to kind of give it a little bit more dimension. Now you're not going to see all this on top. I'll explain all that to you a little bit later. One of the things that the Sisters is known for is their different hats. Each hat is what we call them a coronet, and each one of those is different is specific to a city. Every house has their own style. Here I live in Cincinnati, and we have ours is based off of, and I'll pull it out here just a little bit and show you the different stuff. What it looks like is a combination of two of our buildings here in town. One is it kind of reminds me of a giant tiara. I'm trying not to sneeze. Ooh, gotta hold that in. Sneezing while doing this is not fun. All right, so let's get into those eyes. The first thing I'm going to do is I want to shape out my eyes. So I'm going to use my Marin Paradise paints. Let me find the right color. I have a whole bunch of them. I have a whole bunch of them. And I'm going to use this palette today. I'm mostly looking at this black is what I'm going to use. So I'm going to use that for today. These are really fun paints. Marin Paradise paints. They are, like I said, they are water activated. All you do is put a little bit of water on them, mix them up with a brush, and then they just go on like a water paint. So I'm going to start off with my black, and we're just going to start painting the rest of this face on. So, and we're almost done on this, honestly. I don't have a whole lot left to do. So basically right now I'm just doing my eyes, and then we are going to go up into my eyebrows. And then that should be about it. I think the last thing I may do is color my beard. Usually I do try to incorporate the beard in if at all possible. So we're gonna start off with my eyes. And I'm just gonna, because my eyes are hooded, I am going to just cover the entire eye. It's just, it works for me. It does, and it's not for everybody, but it does work for me. And as you can see, this goes on very smoothly. Depending on your brush, you can be extremely detailed or not, depending on what you want with the look. So I do pretty much, I cover the entire eyelid with black. And I'm going to do that again on the other side, because I usually, like I said, I work everything equally. So I'll do one side and then the next. One side and then the next. That's just how I work. That's how I paint. It's worked well for me, and it does really good things for me. I can keep track of where I am, making sure the eyes look somewhat the same. Your eyes will never be twins unless you have a stencil, but they should be sisters. So you want to make sure that they are about the same, but they don't have to necessarily be exactly the same. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out my cat eye. So I need to add just a little bit more water. And mix that up some more. So we're going to cut out this cat eye. And because you can see my eyes go way up, I'm going to actually start here in the middle and start cutting up. to really get that up there. You see it's going up. And now I'm going to start pulling that up. And I usually go for a very dramatic cat eye. So I'm going to go a little bit further up the side. As you can see, just like that. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to start in the center, just kind of work my way out. Making sure I'm starting to get everything even. Pretty close. Pretty close. I think this one eye needs to go up just a little bit higher than the other one, as it's a little low. And if you can usually tell just by looking at it if you need to add a little bit more or not. You just add a little bit more now. So that just usually that took care of it. This eye was just a little bit lower in height than this one, so I just added it in. All right, so what I'm going to do next is we're going to do our lower line. Before I get to that though, I do want to add, I usually do a color underneath my eye, so I'm going to do that now before I get too much further in the process. So I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to take my middle blue color again, and I'm just going to start here, and we're just going to pull some blue down. It's like Bob Ross always says, a happy little blue, happy little blue. So I'm just going to add this little blue color right there, because what that's doing is going to pull your eye in, and it's also going to accentuate this highlight right here. I'm going to do the same thing on the side. You want to make sure when you're doing this, right, if you do the black right before this, that you don't mess with that black. If you do, you're going to smear that black and it's going to start to come into that blue, which you don't want. So what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of going near the black, but not on the black. Near, but not on. All right, so I'm just kind of doing that. Now I'm going to finish off the black line that I had before. That's what I started with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my line underneath my eye this time. So I'm going to connect it right at that bottom point. And we're just going to follow that upper line of the color. So just get a small line like that. I'm also going to do that on the other side now. Again, just following that line from the top of the color. And once you do that, go ahead and fill in your color on this side. So you get a good connecting line. You want to make sure those lines connect as best as possible. All right, so now what I'm going to do, I've got that part done. I'm going to go ahead and add my eyebrows. So here, if you notice where my eyes started, or the creases and everything started, I usually start and leave this spot of my actual eyebrow without any color on both sides. That way I can see where I want to start. So my eyebrow, I'm just going to follow this color up. I may go just a little bit higher than it right about here on the sides, but for the most part, I'm going to follow this line just up, and then I'm going to pull back down. So here we go. I'm going to start right here in the center, right about where my actual eyebrow is. And I'm going to start pulling, pulling, pulling. And I'm just going to go over the top, okay? And then I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. So we're going to start right towards the center a little bit. And here's where it's the trickiest, trying to find that exact spot on the other side. That looks about right. All right, so I'm going to follow that color. Follow, 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 and go up just a little bit and then pull down. There we go. Have 2 eyebrows. Now you can change the shape of your eyebrows now. I usually do this like this so that I can get the general shape. Then I go back in and add depth to it. Just like so. All right, perfect. All right, last thing we've got to do is we've got this really dark, stark black line underneath our eye. I want to change that. I don't want it to be so bold. So I'm going to take a really fine black brush. I'm going to add a little bit of black to it. I'm going to blend that out just a little bit. I'm adding black powder to it to give it a kind of a smoky eye part. And just keep adding it as needed. And just blend those colors in as much as you want. And I'm going to do that on this other side too. If you do it to one side, you should probably do it to the other side. All right. So there's the blending of that part. And then finally, because I do things out of order all the time. One thing that I always make sure I do before I finish is finish off this crease. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my black again with the Mirror in Paradise paint. And I'm going to just kind of cut that crease even more with the black. And I'm just going to do a single line. Just a single line of it right along that bottom edge. And it's not going to be perfect. Just get it just a little bit on there. It doesn't have to be a whole lot. Notice I'm not putting a ton of black on here. I'm just putting a little bit, just enough to give that really good solid line. Sometimes you may get more on your brush than you wanted. Perfect. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that black brush that I just had, and I'm going to take a little bit of black powder and we're going to blend that up. So a little bit of black powder. We're going to start on the black line and we're just going to start blending it up. So that's going to start giving me more detail in this black. We're going to see more color change into that dark blue, and we're going to get a good solid line out of it. And again, all I'm doing is lightly stroking up with my brush into the blue from the black. I do have just a little bit of powder, and notice it goes a long way here. You don't need a lot. Here we go. All right, so let's do our beard. Like I said, I usually do like to do the beard along with this. And so I'm going to actually do a metallic color. I really like these metallics. They're very fun. Where are they? Of course, it's going to be my very last palette. There they are. This palette. Oh, get my light in there. I don't want to get my light in there. It's a very nice. It's the Mirror in Paradise paint again. I'm going to go with probably this blue. Just because I like it. I like the blue. I like the color of it. It goes on very cleanly. So I'm just going to do the beard as I would. So I'm going to take more water, and I just put water in a spritz bottle. And I'm just going to spray that in. I don't know. Maybe I should not do blue. Maybe I should do green, or maybe a purple. Ooh, purple. I've not used the purple yet. I'm gonna do purple. I want to see what this looks like. You'll get to experience it with me because I've not used it. Not used it before, but I do love these colors because they go on very bright, and I just love how they look. Ooh, this is going out so good. Notice when I'm doing this, I am following that line that we created earlier. That's all I'm doing, just following this line. Now, you can blend these colors. You can blend these colors. This Marin Paradise paints are basically a body paint. And they do mix. They do mix. You can mix the colors together. You can create your own colors. It works out very well. I think they turn out beautifully, all of them. But you can start off with one color and blend it into the next. So I'm just gonna start here. And actually, I'll go ahead and show you how to do that because, like I said, I really like these blues and that blue. So I'm gonna add a little bit of blue into this color. Again, I'm just gonna add a good solid line here. This part usually takes the longest for me because I really got to make sure that you get that color all everywhere. And notice I do have powder still on my ear. I don't need that. I'm gonna wipe that off. I don't need that color. All right. How about we blend this into a new color now? I'm going to use a different color another color that I have not used yet, because I'm really curious about how it looks. It's a light blue. It's a very light blue. I've used my dark blue before. I have not used my light blue, so I'm going to try that one next. Let's see what this looks like. Ooh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. I like this color. Do you see how metallic-y that is already? I love this palette. And let's brush it in. Brush it all the way in. And it does take a little bit of time to get this all in here. So just work it in as best you can. Sometimes, especially if a really thick beard, especially like right here, it's hard to get into the color all the way with just a little bit of paint. So you usually have to put a little bit of it on there. So those of you who have seen some of my other videos, if you remember, I did use the green earlier. I used it for my Sailor Pluto look I did the other day, or just recently. I love Sailor Pluto. She is one of my favorite people, favorite characters from any anime series. I think she's a complete badass. She's really awesome. Let's talk about her for a second. She can stop time. She can stop time. She actually does, but by doing so, it costs her her life. I don't know how many people would be willing to actually do that in general. It's like, oh, I have this power, but if I do, I'm going to die. I love Sailor Pluto because, again, she is one of the strongest females characters I know I've ever seen. And I just love that. I love that ability to be like sacrifice and everything. So it's one of my, like I said, one of my favorite characters. And I'm super excited because she's coming to Lexington's Lexington Comic Toy Convention in late March. Like the Valerie Taylor is coming there, and she is the voice of Pluto from Sailor Moon Crystal. And so I'm super excited to do that. I'm going to actually dress up like Sailor Pluto and have my picture taken with her. I may also get a signature from her because, you know, I have to. So we're just going to get this all in here, all in as much as possible, right? All right, so now let's go ahead and just blend this together. As I said, I want to make sure, I want these colors to kind of merge. So what I'm going to do is now I've got one level, I've got the other. So I'm going to start about here in the blue, and I'm going to use my blue color, and I'm going to start pulling it into the purple. I said this does usually mix. Then you can see it goes from one color into the next, and how much you want it to blend is totally up to you. If you start pulling dark into the blue, it's going to show you more purple towards the center. You can add more. So as I said, this is like the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence are in numerous cities across the country. The United States, there are some internationally. I know we have some in Vancouver, Canada. And then we also have some in Berlin, Paris, Manchester, over in the UK. We also have some sisters down in Australia. And we have the Perth sisters down there. So there's sisters all over the country. Usually they're in larger cities. Cincinnati has one, which is where I'm from, over in Cincinnati. Indianapolis has a house, Louisville, St. Louis, San Diego, Palm Springs, Dallas, trying to think of all of them. Phoenix has one, Orlando. Their houses are pretty much all over the country. So if you're interested, you can check out thesisters.org. That is the main page for the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. You'll be able to see a lot of information. There's a lot of history, or as we call sistery, involved with it. Again, we are as an organization that is just hit 40 years not long ago. It was April of last year. So the order began on Easter weekend in 1979. So it's one of the things that we make sure we keep going year to year. And there are currently almost 50 houses in North America right now. So I think we just elevated our 49th. And to elevate is to promote a house to being fully professed. And fully professed means that we're allowed to use the trademark. We're allowed to do anything that's involved with being a sister as we want. So again, if you see the sisters out, say hi, say a prayer. We'll bless you. However you want. We're there to bring joy to everybody, and we're there to make sure that you're having a good time no matter where you're at. Right? So it's been great painting up for you tonight. You will likely see me some more. I will probably paint up again. I will do another video for you probably tomorrow night, Saturday. I do have a Comic-Con down in Bowling Green that I am going to be visiting. Bowling Green, Kentucky. And so I'm going to go down there and I'm doing one of my favorite characters, Black Lady from Sailor Moon. I will probably, if I can, do a video for you. I don't know if I'll be able to, but I will try to do a video of that makeup, or at least do a before and after, because it's one of my favorite characters to do. It's probably the most time consuming as well. So I hope everybody's enjoyed doing this and watching, just hearing me chit chat with me today, and hopefully you all enjoy it and come back and subscribe. Whenever you want, so go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, and tell everybody come check me out. All right, thank you for joining.